What's your biggest weakness? How many times have you heard that question and how many times have you cringed? After years of coaching people on this particular question, I've come up with a method, a specific strategic formula that I have found is incredibly effective in enhancing people's performance at answering this question. Where a lot of people go wrong with answering this question is they might possibly jump right into the strength. They might address something if somebody says, "What's your biggest weakness?" And then you say, "Well, it's that I'm a really hard worker." Give me a break. Okay, we all know that's not really a weakness. Or the opposite of that, which is people literally divulge their deepest, darkest secrets, such as, "Well, Jennifer, I stay up so late at night worrying about my boss and what's on the schedule and the agenda for tomorrow that I always show up late to work." And that's an actual example of something I've heard. So over the years, I've come up with this formula that not only addresses the question of the weakness, but also gives you an opportunity to strategize and to put the weakness in a more powerful perspective. So here, first I'm going to give you an example, and then I'm going to give you the formula. So a lot of people might say, for example, that, I'm a perfectionist. Now that can sound really cheesy if it's not said right. Some people really are perfectionists, and in some ways that could be considered as a weakness. So if I were to take being a perfectionist and apply it with the formula that I'm about to give you, this is what it would sound like. What could be considered one of my weaknesses is the fact that I tend to take a little bit of extra time reviewing my work. Now, this could be considered a weakness because if I'm spending more time than Betty, Bob, or Sue, who's next to me, the employer or my boss might not like that as much, and they might say, "Oh, Jen, you're taking too much time." However, in the past, I've found that the fact that I take that extra time to do what's necessary, review my work, and make sure it gets done right the first time, I found that a lot of employers have actually appreciated that. So in some ways, I could see why people would find it to be a weakness, but by the same token, it can also be a strength. So what I've done here with this formula is a very specific thing. You always start off with it could be considered a weakness. That's one of the largest mistakes people make is they say that it is a weakness, like it's written in stone somewhere. That's not at all the case. It could be considered a weakness by some people. So the formula is this. I realize that X could be considered a weakness. And even though X could be considered a weakness because of Y and Z, because of A and B, it can also be a strength. Now, if you use that formula in your next interview when you're asked about your biggest weakness, you might see different results. So good luck out there and work on crafting that perfect weakness statement.